Coach, you were a successful weightlifting and track and field coach. Why did you stop coaching on the international level?
This is $1 million question, because actually I stopped, and I did not stop coaching international level athletes. So back in Romania, I was very successful. After 4 years of coaching, I got the highest level, the first class level coaching, and then I developed great athletes. Beside that, I was a minority and I was living in the province, not in the capital in Bucharest, and still I achieved great performances. But after I got my athletes on the peak, I didn't like to travel with them. I am very much family oriented, and then I try to well balance my family life and my coaching. Then coming in United States, I continued in same way, and then in 1987 I opened my little private business where I started to work all sports conditioning for every sport possible. But I achieved great results in basketball. So many of my basketball players became great college and later on professional basketball players. Same thing with lacrosse, with tennis, with American football. So in this time when I am doing just the conditioning, I don't need to travel with them. So I'm able to develop new and new athletes. Right now I work with 12, 13, 14 years old tennis players, basketball players, track and field, there's a few of them, lacrosse, and then triathlete athletes. And then some of them hopefully will be again up on the top, going to Olympics or World Championship. So I am happy that I develop them, I bring them on the top, but then I don't need to travel, so I can still to keep up my family life and then enjoying the great results of my athletes.
You're called the father of dumbbell and barbell complex exercises. When and why did you develop them?
This is another very good question. They call me the dumbbell king actually, because I love very much exercising with dumbbells. The first reason of it, because dumbbells develops is free weight and the continuous stimulation and osteomuscular system. We will talk about this later. And then so it's a great exercise. And then as a young athlete, young student actually at University of Physical Education, I tried to experiment on my own body several different exercises which I couldn't learn in that time from the courses at college and also from my coaches. So all of those experiments, after I stopped athletics, I stopped pretty young at the age of 26, because I was born with a form of spina bifida, and then it was pretty bothering me, and then better I stopped, I married, and then so in that time I continued to input in my athletes preparation all of my personal feedbacks, my personal experiment, what I did on my own body. And then years and years and years I tried to improve. I followed my athletes, I did all of the feedbacks from my athletes, and then I saw the improvements. I met certain groups of people who were doing just my programs, other one doing the extra programs, and then in this way I was I was making my first barbell and dumbbell complex exercises. That was in 1967 and 1971. Between 67 and 71, it was a 3 years of experiment with so many groups of athletes, and then some of them they did the regular program, the other one did the regular program plus 6 sets of these exercises. So then I realized how much my athletes were improving doing these complex exercises with barbell and dumbbells.
How many versions of it did you develop since that first complex?
I didn't count exactly, but probably I did more than 50 dumbbell and more than 35, 40 barbell complex exercises. For different sports. For basketball is different, for baseball, for swimmers, for tennis players, for football players, for American football players. So I made for different sports and for different reasons so many complex exercises.
Coach, you're an accomplished author. How many books do you currently have on the market?
Right now I have 5 books on the market, and then everyone who wants to buy it is the easier way to buy on www.lulu.com, and just put there my name, István Javorek, and comes up all of my books. The best would be probably my track and field books. The reason is that in track and field books I have all of my programs what I developed at University of Texas A&M for my track athletes, between them all of the throwers program, which was helping Randy Barnes to become world record holders and Olympic champion doing those programs on shot put.
Coach Javorek's Big Fun program has been considered a long time the hardest exercise program. But don't you think that you have even harder programs than that?
You know, always jokingly I say that the Big Fun program I developed for kindergarten, so for wimps. So since, how to tell you, not since, I always try to make new approach. I try to get new kind of forms, new kind of stimulation, because there are so many versions and so many times you find out that you can improve your programs. So I get always, how I mentioned before, the feedbacks from my athletes and from my readers and from my clients who orders my programs around the world. In this way, I developed another fun program, the Tremendous Pleasure, Javorek's Tremendous Pleasure program, Javorek's Super Challenger program, then the Hoopers program, which first it was published in Men's Health magazine, actually in the Muscle and Strength magazine, I'm sorry, and then I did another version of it for every athlete and for power athletes. I call the Power Athletes Hoopers program. Later, I developed, right now I consider the hardest program possible, which I think every CrossFit athlete should do it at least once in their lifetime or before they go to a bigger CrossFit competition. Those programs are Javorek's Mesocycle #1 and Mesocycle #2 programs. It is pretty hard. I have some great athletes who try to do it, and they usually finish 2 circuits a day and they are knocked out.
So from your huge selection of conditioning programs, what would you recommend for cycling, wrestling, boxing, and triathletes?
Yes, those sports are considered usually endurance sport. Besides, wrestling is endurance also and power, but all of the sports needs both of them. So they need amazing, huge capacity of willpower and fighting spirit. So I guarantee that the Tremendous Pleasure, especially the Super Challenger program, would make them extremely good. I guarantee you that no any athletes from Tour de France needs any kind of extra juices if they would do it in their preparation, my programs, especially the Super Challenger program. The CrossFit, how I told you before, they should do it always at least once in their big competition, not my Super Challenger, my Mesocycle programs.
What do you consider essential when starting any fitness program?
I teach at college regular weight training classes, and also I am not doing any more at college, but I do with my private kids, athletes, conditionings and then preparation. Always I mention the most important rule is that no dangerous exercise, just dangerous improper technique. So doesn't matter what program you start, you should learn each exercise with at least 15-20 repetitions with the perfect proper technique. That's the most important. After that, you should always to test your potentials, your 100% potentials on each exercise. In that way, you know what it means 50% of an exercise. And after that, to start gradually. So someone who starts my program first in their life, first they always should do it with lighter weights, a few days or a few weeks actually, to get used to it, and after that to start the program. But always important, if some of the exercises start to be too heavy, don't do it with improper technique, better go back and do it with lighter one. The other very important issue that you need to finish a program. First of all, you need to finish every day of a program. several athletes or my clients are doing the same program, doing 2 or 3 workouts a day. Actually, it's much better if you divide the workouts in several smaller sessions. So, but in the meantime, you should finish the whole program every day. Now, some people cannot finish it. You cannot expect the same results when you finish just a part of it or when you finish the whole program. The stimulation is completely different, but still gives amazing results. So there are people who like a 3 days program a week, they finish in 6 days. That's okay, but still is not the same stimulation like the Big Fun program. You cannot do it, the Big Fun program, finishing in not in 7 weeks, but finishing in 14 weeks. You can, but you don't get the same results. So there are some certain instructions that you need to follow on each programs.
Coach, we've been talking about your conditioning programs, but I know you have successful knee, wrist, shoulder, and back reconditioning programs. Could you talk a little bit more about those?
Yes. As a young athlete, I started to get injuries. So always I tried on my own to find out how I can improve those injuries or to rehab from those injuries, especially when I was a college student of physical education. So for example, I was hyperextended a muscle or my shoulder, or I separated my right shoulder actually from a high jump. So I did on my own different exercises, and always I made notes, and then I collected those data, and then I tried to find out how I can improve my athletes without any other help. So in this way, and then testing on some of my athletes these programs and these exercises, I developed very, very successful shoulder routines, very successful wrist routines for elbows, and then also for back. I told you I have spina bifida, and I survived to do so many sports and actually to do heavy Olympic weightlifting, just doing those programs which I developed for back routines. Then I had my own meniscus problem, and then I didn't have surgery in that time, but I developed a program for ACL surgeries, after ACL surgeries, reconditioning programs. It took me more than 10 years to finalize this program and to be sure that there's nothing wrong with it. And then all of my athletes who after their ACL or meniscus surgery were doing actually ACL and meniscus surgery, because after meniscus surgery in 3 weeks you can be back on any kind of sport and then play 100%. But after ACL and meniscus surgery together, all of my athletes in 4 months, they were able to do 100% back on field and doing their preferred sport with 100% capacity. So in this way, I think that it's several times is very, very frustrating when I read in newspapers or I see in the TV, then famous athletes, professional athletes, they do more than a year recovery after a ACL surgery. And always I question why, when you can do it with a good program in 4 months to do the same results.
You're right. In recent months, we've seen so many Mizzou, Chiefs, Sporting KC athletes having ACL surgery. Why weren't any of them asking to use your program? Are you just not offering the service to them?
Yes, the first, and then I think the question of this is the contracts, the professional contracts, and the liability insurance. So they don't let anyone who is not in their club, in their organization, to do any kind of programs. And then I would be personally very happy if they would ask me to do these programs. I would offer my service. Just I'm waiting for them to call me or to send me an email.
Coach, I understand you started some serious weightlifting with a kid at the age of 3. Could you talk about lifting and growing? Isn't it detrimental to the growth of a child?
Yes, I can answer on this question. So back in Romania at my club, doing weightlifting with young kids, I made a statistic of all of the anthropometrical data. So I measured their height, their body weight, their chest measurement, their biceps, their standing long jumps, their standing vertical jumps. And then I was collecting the data for every for every kid and for families. I had siblings, up to 4 kids in the same family. And what I realized from these statistics I remember it was more than 140 families with 2 kids or 3 or 4 kids also in the families, that the youngest from the family, so who started the younger age doing my very serious weightlifting programs, always grew the tallest one. All of them, no exceptions. Now back to that 3-year-old kid. His name is Aurel Sörbu. We called him Aurica. And then he started with me at age of 3 after medical supervision. I had doctors in my club who were there and then checking everything. And then what I followed, the first issue is that with kids you do with lighter weights and more repetitions, especially for a 3-year-old kid. On the beginning we do it with a broomstick with no any weights, just to learn the right technique. And then so in this way, and then no heavier than 20-30% of their own body weight they were exercising. More repetitions, because we know very well that for kids not having testosterone in their system, repetition makes the muscles. Later on, after the puberty, then of course the testosterone helps with heavier weights to make those muscles and to improve. So this kid who started at age of 3, he grew more than 12 inches, a head taller than his parents, especially like his father. And then he became, of age of 18, he became second in the world at Junior World Championship. He was a silver medalist. And then he was taller and slim, like on the platform, you can find somewhere probably on the internet. On the platform, he is on second place, and then he looks taller than the athlete who won on the first place.
Coach, what's the difference between your programs and the average Gold Gym or Fitness Center programs?
There are a lot of differences. First of all of these fitness centers, Gold Gyms, they prefer a lot of machines. And we know very well what the difference between machines and free weights. Both of them develop muscles. Machines develop slow muscles, unfortunately. Free weights develops powerful athletic muscles. Of course, with free weights also you make it for certain sport like endurance sport, more endurance quality muscle. But in the meantime, the big difference is that machines doesn't stimulate prevention or to improve from osteoporosis. The machines is not a continuous stimulation, is an accommodating resistance. So free weights continuously stimulates the stabilizing muscles. So continuously stimulates the osteomuscular system. We call osteomuscular system the bones, the ligaments, the tendons, and the muscles. The machines being accommodating resistance don't do that. So that's the big differences. And then, you know, free weights is not that fun to exercise, especially doing a hard program. With machines, you can sit on the machine and then watching the TV in front of you or read the papers. So that's the big difference. Now, in certain gyms, like not fitness centers, but in a Gold Gym, they use a lot of how I told you, a lot of machines and some free weights. They usually do heavy bench press, and then with the bodies and 5 minutes rest, and then do it again, and then some squats with several of them with not the best technique. And I mentioned before that improper technique is the dangerous, not lifting. And then other exercise, they do some kind of power clean. Okay, so this is the huge big difference between the machines, my program and the dumbbell, Gold Gyms or fitness centers programs.
Coach, I know that you sell your workout programs from your website, but it seems like most of the orders are for your most intensive programs. Why don't you sell more beginner or intermediate programs?
That is my question also, why? And then it is very frustrating when you see some parents and coaches, they want to follow with every young kid the Olympic champion program. Olympic champions also started with some easy programs, some introductory programs, and gradually you get up there on the top. Now, if you start with a kid, an Olympic champion program, you make more damage than good. Probably you injure him and you never achieve the good performances. So that is the whole issue, that everybody should be patient, the parents, especially the parents, because the parents, all of them, they want to follow the Olympic champion program. I got letters, I got orders for my programs. Everybody wants the Big Fun program. Everybody wants the Super Challenger program. So I am writing them letters and emails, and I said, why do you want to do that? Did you do my general fitness program number 1? Did you do my general fitness program number 2? My bodybuilding program or some much easier program? I said, no, we never did. So I suggest them, please, would you mind to start with these programs? And then majority of the cases, always I got the good positive answer that yes, I would like to start. And after they do, I got the feedback because I keep a continuous contact with my athletes, and then not with my athletes, excuse me, with my clients, and all of them, the feedback is very positive. They said, thank you very much, we need to start with this easy program. That's why some people actually cause, like I read a blog in Men's Health magazine telling that my program is the hell because burns the calories.
Thanks for your time today, Coach.
Thank you very much. And then, like I always say to everyone, yes, I love it.